If you want to get rich in 2026, I need you to ignore almost everything people are screaming about online. Not the hottest stock, not the next meme coin, not some secret side hustle that sounds like a scam with better lighting. Because the thing that will actually make you rich in 2026 is not a ticker symbol. It's not even a business idea. It's your ability to own income-producing assets before everyone else wakes up. That's the whole game. And yeah, I know that sounds almost too simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. In fact, the reason most people stay broke is because they keep chasing complicated answers when the rich are usually doing one boring thing really, really well. They own things. They own equity. They own cash flow. They own scarce assets. They own systems that make money while they're not in the room. That's what 2026 is going to reward harder than ever. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what that means, why most people miss it, and what you can actually do this year if you want to stop renting your future from somebody else. Because if you get this part right, everything else gets easier. If you get it wrong, you can stay busy for the next 5 years and still feel like you're running in place. I'm William, and let's get into it. Here's the first thing you need to understand. Wealth is not created by effort alone. That's a lie people tell when they want to sound hardworking. Effort matters, obviously, but effort without ownership just makes you a very productive employee. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee, by the way. I'm not insulting people who work jobs. I'm saying if your only source of wealth is your paycheck, then your ceiling is limited by your time, your boss, and the market for your labor. That's a bad setup if your goal is to get rich, because time is the one asset you can't scale. You only get so many hours a day. You can work harder, sure. You can work longer, maybe, but you cannot multiply yourself.
Ownership is what breaks that limit. Ownership means you get paid because you own something valuable, not just because you showed up and performed. And in 2026, that matters more than ever, because the economy is getting weirder in a very specific way. A lot of things are becoming easier to copy. Content is easier to make. Products are easier to launch. Businesses are easier to start. And a whole lot of average work is getting squeezed by automation, software, and yeah, AI. That doesn't mean opportunity is disappearing. It means the value is shifting. The people who get rich won't be the ones doing everything manually. They'll be the ones who own the thing that gets leveraged. That's the key word, leverage. You want leverage that works while you sleep, while you're eating, while you're on vacation, while you're doing literally anything besides trading hours for money. So what actually makes you rich in 2026? The answer is a combination of 3 things: ownership, leverage, and distribution. Let me slow that down, because this is the part most people miss. Ownership is the asset. Leverage is how that asset grows without requiring all your time. Distribution is how people find it. If you have ownership but no leverage, you've just bought yourself another job. If you have leverage but no ownership, you're helping somebody else get rich. And if you have ownership and leverage but no distribution, nobody knows you exist. That's why some of the smartest people in the world still struggle to build wealth. They're brilliant, but invisible. They have a great skill, but no audience. They have a business, but no system. They have effort, but no asset. In 2026, that's the trap. Not laziness, misalignment. Now, let's get practical. If I had to bet on the thing that will make the biggest difference for most people in 2026, it would be this: building or buying an equity position in something that can scale. That could be a business. That could be a content brand.
That could be a software product. That could be a small cash-flowing asset. That could be a portfolio of investments if you do it intelligently and consistently. The point is not the exact vehicle. The point is that your money and your effort need to be moving toward ownership, not just consumption. Because consumption is the silent wealth killer. And I'm not just talking about expensive dinners and dumb purchases, though, yeah, those count too. I'm talking about the subtle stuff. The subscription you don't use. The car payment that drains your monthly flexibility. The lifestyle upgrade that makes you feel successful but leaves you less free. The impulse to look rich before you are rich. That last one is brutal. A lot of people want the image of wealth way before they build the engine of wealth. So they buy the shoes, the watch, the rent, the vacation, the energy drink version of success, and then wonder why they're still stressed. That is backwards. Wealth is supposed to buy freedom, not cosplay. So here's the question. What should you actually do in 2026 if you want to get ahead? I'm going to give you the real answer, and it's probably not as glamorous as you want. Step 1, increase your earning power. Not just your income, your earning power. There's a difference. Income is what you make now. Earning power is what you can make when you level up your skills, your leverage, and your market value. If you're underpaid, your first move isn't to obsess over investments. Your first move is to become more valuable. That can mean learning sales, learning a high-income skill, learning how to build and ship things faster, learning how to use AI tools to multiply output, learning how to communicate clearly, persuade people, and solve expensive problems. Rich people are rarely paid for effort alone. They're paid for solving problems that are worth a lot of money. So ask yourself, what expensive problem can I solve? Not what's trendy, not what sounds cool at brunch.
What problem is valuable enough that someone will happily pay me to fix it? That's where income starts to grow. Step 2, turn part of that income into ownership. This is where a lot of people fail because they wait until they have enough. You will never feel like you have enough. If you make 40, you'll say 60 is enough. If you make 80, you'll say 100 is enough. If you make 150, you'll say 250 is enough. The finish line keeps moving because the human brain is weird like that. So you need a system. Every time money comes in, some of it should be diverted into assets before lifestyle gets to it. Not after, before. That could mean investing in broad assets. It could mean funding a business. It could mean acquiring skills that raise your price. It could mean buying tools that generate more income. It could mean building a content channel that compounds over time. The exact mix depends on your situation, but the principle never changes. Pay your future self first. And yes, that means sacrificing some short-term comfort. That's the trade. Rich in 2026 or comfortable in the moment. You can't fully maximize both. Now let's talk about the part people don't want to hear. In 2026, attention is going to be one of the most valuable assets on Earth. Not because attention itself is money, but because attention is the gateway to distribution. If nobody sees what you do, you're handicapping yourself. That's why I think one of the smartest wealth moves in 2026 is to build a public-facing asset, even if it's small. A personal brand, a niche page, a YouTube channel, a newsletter, a media business, a simple audience around a useful idea. Why? Because distribution changes everything. If you have a skill, distribution lets you monetize it. If you have a product, distribution lets you sell it. If you have a business, distribution lets you scale it. If you have ideas, distribution lets them compound. And the beautiful part is, you don't need millions of followers.
You need trust and relevance. A tiny audience that cares can outperform a huge audience that scrolls past. That's a real advantage in 2026 because the internet is getting noisier, not quieter. So if you can consistently publish, teach, entertain, or solve problems for a specific group, you're building a wealth engine. Not just a page, a machine. Now, I want to be careful here, because there's a temptation to turn this into some fantasy where everyone becomes a founder or influencer overnight. That's not the point. The point is ownership of something that compounds. For some people, that will be a business. For some, it'll be a portfolio. For some, it'll be a personal brand. For some, it'll be real estate or another hard asset. For some, it'll be a small digital product or service business. The specific asset matters less than the structure. Does it grow without all your time? Does it produce cash flow or appreciation? Does it give you leverage? Can it be expanded? Can it be sold? Can it be scaled? Those are wealth questions. And if you ask those questions consistently, you start thinking like an owner instead of a consumer. That mindset shift is huge. Because consumers ask, what can I buy? Owners ask, what can I build? Consumers ask, what looks good? Owners ask, what compounds? Consumers ask, what feels good right now? Owners ask, what pays me later? That's the difference. Now, let's deal with the biggest myth of all, that getting rich in 2026 will come from predicting the right trend. No. Trends help. Timing helps. Being early helps. But trend chasing without a system is just expensive gambling. If you keep trying to catch the next wave without owning anything, you'll always be one step behind the people who built the surfboard. That's why the real rich don't just speculate. They build positions. They accumulate. They buy time, equity, and optionality. Optionality is another huge one. Optionality means your life gets more possible, not less.
More choices, more flexibility, more upside, more ways to win. That's what ownership gives you. And the more optionality you have, the less fragile you are. That matters because 2026 is probably going to reward people who are adaptable. Markets change. Platforms change. Tech changes. Consumer behavior changes. If your whole life depends on one job, one platform, one client, one income stream, you're vulnerable. If you own multiple income-producing assets, you're durable. And durability is underrated. People love the fantasy of overnight wealth. I get it. It's sexy, it's flashy, it feeds the ego. But the people who actually get rich and stay rich are usually boring in the best possible way. They keep building. They keep reinvesting. They keep buying assets. They keep learning. They keep their expenses sane. They keep their options open. That's not exciting on the outside. It's powerful on the inside. So what's the one thing that will make you rich in 2026? If I had to compress it into one sentence, it would be this. Build ownership in something that can scale faster than your time. That's it. That's the whole thing. Now, how do you know if you're on the right track? Easy. If your plan depends on you working more hours forever, it's not a wealth plan. If your plan depends on impressing people, it's not a wealth plan. If your plan depends on finding one magical opportunity and hoping it saves you, it's not a wealth plan. A real wealth plan in 2026 should do at least one of these. It should grow in value. It should produce cash flow. It should build an audience. It should increase your earning power. Or it should give you leverage you didn't have before. Preferably more than one. And if you're starting from zero, don't panic. You do not need to become a genius investor overnight. You need momentum. You need one good income stream and one real asset. Then another. Then another. That's how wealth actually happens for regular people.
Not through one dramatic moment, through repeated ownership decisions. And let me say this part clearly. The faster you stop treating money like something to spend and start treating it like something to direct, the faster your life changes. Money is a tool. Use it to build. Not to impress, not to escape, not to numb yourself, to build. Because every dollar has a job. A dollar can buy a night out, sure, or it can buy a piece of your future. And in 2026, the people who get rich will be the ones who keep choosing future over flex. That choice, over and over again, is what compounds. So if you want the real answer, here it is one last time. The thing that will make you rich in 2026 is not luck, not hype, and not some secret market prediction. It's ownership. Ownership of assets, ownership of systems, ownership of distribution, ownership of your earning power. Get those four moving in the same direction, and suddenly you're not just making money. You're building wealth. And once that starts working, it gets a lot harder for life to box you in. That's when things get interesting. That's when you stop asking how to survive the month and start asking what you want your life to look like next year. And trust me, that shift feels very, very good.